Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for coming to the Investor Talk. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks to you. And you're very lucky because you are talking from Lisbon, so that's a very great place. I hope I can come soon.
That's right. Unfortunately, today is one of the rare non-sunny days.
It's a good for working, so we can have a pleasant talk. So can we start giving an introduction, who you are?
Yeah, my name is Michael Sassano. I'm the chairman and CEO of Somai Pharmaceuticals, a Irish-based company with holdings in Portugal, Germany, Greece.
Thank you. Starting with, you are now based in Portugal. What is your thesis when it comes to investments in terms of geography?
Well, Portugal's a good place in order to make investments due to the regime they have here, which is a no capital gains regime, and that money can go anywhere. So the investments are centered around the EU right now. So we're looking all around the EU, for investments in our space.
Thank you. So you are now focused on European countries.
Yep, we're all in on European countries right now.
And what about your ticket? How much you normally invest in the startups? Or
minimum tickets is, you don't want to do anything less than 500 to $1 million. And for the right idea, you can go up to 5 million.
Okay. What's the stage of these startups?
Most of them are at a point where either they've built what they're supposed to have built. They've hit their KPIs. So it's usually a little later stage than the very beginning paper napkins.
And in terms of sectors, do you have any precise sector to invest?
Yeah, we're precisely in the pharmaceuticals and cannabis sector.
Okay. In terms of investing, because when you start investing from 500,000, it's pretty early stage. So when it comes to investing in such an early stage, where do you find your conviction? What do you see the most? The company, the team, the product or service itself?
Well, right now we're looking at infrastructure building within Europe. So you need more, not less. Currently, there's 35 operating license sets in Europe. And if you juxtapose that to somewhere like the United States, where there's 30,000 licensed states, and a $30 billion market, we have a lot to go here. So we need more infrastructure, and we're looking towards the people that are building those infrastructures in Europe.
But you also invest in building yourself the infrastructure, or you invest just in some project done or very close to be developed?
Yeah, for sure. We have our own manufacturing facility here in Lisbon, the largest pharmaceutical manufacturing in Europe right now to date. So we use that as a launching point to invest in other companies, whether it's distribution or grow or others. So we're using that entity to expand and grow, not just organically, but through mergers and acquisitions and investments in strategic companies.
Okay. In terms of founders, do you like to meet them in person, or you can go to Zoom, for example?
I would prefer they come and meet me, or I come and meet them. So I'm constantly on an airplane, and I'm happy to go and see what they're doing and see the project that they're building. So I think it has to be in person.
Okay. Before pandemic was mandatory, okay? This was very much compulsory. You had to meet him face to face, but after this huge disaster, many have been turning to Zoom. I've been talking to many. They actually invest without even seeing the founders one. Anyway, that's the choice.
Look, I think it was nice that money kept moving while most of the world stopped. And then there were people that were living in different areas like Florida and Las Vegas, were places I was living where there was no pandemic, and everybody was out regardless of the pandemic. And then you have facilities to run, so there was no lockdown for us that had to run facilities. The plants didn't start growing themselves. So yeah, the pandemic changed things, but still, that in-person went on.
I mean, after investing and even before investing, how often do you like to meet the founders?
As much as possible. I think you have to be aware of your management that you're dealing with. You have to be aware of their mindset. You have to also be aware of where their mindset is changing. If you're not on top of your investment gets on top of you.
That's so true. I mean, what kind of value and help can you add to your investments?
Well, we're very active, and we're more of a strategic investor. We bring knowledge, know-how, product, to the different groups. So we're very active with their management in scoping which direction they're going. And there's always the possibility, an investment turns into a merger if they hit their KPIs and do things right. If you don't watch that and you're not constantly involved with them, then you're just money, and that could be also another solution. Some people like to prefer that road, but we're active.
Great. So you have a very hands-on approach.
Without a question, we bring tremendous decade plus of knowledge, and with the teams we bring decades of knowledge.
Good. I mean, I do believe investment venture capital must be hands-on if you don't want to lose everything.
Without a doubt, and especially with our knowledge of the U.S. cannabis market and developing separate states, coming to Europe, and explaining to them the direction that's going and making plans, not for what today, but where the market will be, is very critical to this success here.
I mean, in terms of investments, do you lead? Do you follow? Do you syndicate?
Well, of course, there are people that follow us. And so, if we're involved, our investors are involved, and they have bigger pockets, than our corporation. So if we find and target a good deal, the chances of other people following us, is very strong.
I mean, if the startup you invested needs more money, has to go to the next rounds, are you going to help them? Do you have the network to do so?
Absolutely. But, let's be sure, when people come to you for more money, there's two reasons. One, they misjudged their budgets, or two, this was a planned raise. And so if you're missing your budget, well, you'll find that we won't necessarily be as friendly as, okay, this is a planned raise. So planned raises are expected. We're happy to participate. We have an 8,000 person CRM of investors that we're happy to open up and put out information on that raise, help people to generate those leads. If it's an unplanned raise, well, let's figure out what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think in startups, I mean, for what is my experience, there is more than miscalculation. There is the hope, let me get this 500, 1 million, I will close the round, I can start working. As soon as after, I can start doing another one, and after another one. What is my experience is, these guys, sometimes they believe money comes from just, investors just giving money. But the point is, money has to be given back one day with some return. So this policy for me is constantly fundraising is not that right.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's exactly right. People think that it happens forever. For our industry, we've seen just in the last decade 5 different cycles. And currently we've been in a drought since 2019, even though there was an uptick in early 2020. But still, when the drought happens, if you're not concentrated on cash flow and you haven't hit your KPIs, well, you may have, a frame of a building left, because raising does not occur forever, especially if you misjudged it and didn't anticipate it. And I hear all the time, well, we didn't anticipate this market to be soft. Well, that is part of the interpretation. And I spend a lot of time with their budgets and tell them, look, double the timeline, cut the revs in half, and increase your cost by double. And then let's start with that as a conservative view of where your budget should be.
What's the point of view? Because I'm a big believer that you should always have 6 months runaway. Always. So he has to have cash, free cash in your account, ready to go in case of emergency. And you can't go very close to burn out everything because it's going to be too dangerous.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, the way we look at it is, our budgets are out till 2025, we're working on 2026 right now. So we have a long view, and that anticipates, cash draws and everything. By the time you're ready for your next raise, you better have a big cushion inside of there because problems happen. And, we tie people to their KPIs. So if you're over or under budget on a monthly basis, we'll be watching that. And so as long as you remain under budget or around budget, okay, you're running things well. If you're constantly over budget and that cash burn is going to occur and that time for your raise starts moving up really fast, well, there's a problem.
I mean, what's your point of view on pivoting? Many funders, when they approach the time to pivot, they have two problems. What I can see. The first, they can't see they need to pivot. They need to change the business model, the product, the service. Otherwise, they will fail. The second is they believe that changing means failure, and they reject the changing completely.
I mean, every quarter we're rechecking, our models, re-verifying, all the time, are we on the right track? And if you don't pivot and if you don't change, you're dead in the water, as far as I'm concerned. It's one of the biggest questions I have on our quarterly reviews. What have you learned? Let's look at your model and let's see where it is. If there is no problem with your model, then something's wrong. If we found something, okay, then we've done our work. And if we're questioning something, well, that's the most important thing if we're constantly in a state of question. So, to say it's going to be smooth sailing and to never change quarter by quarter is a major red flag to me.
Yeah, I do believe so. I agree completely. I mean, why did you choose to become an investor?
That's the only thing I know how to do. No, when I started off as a banker, my mind is trained for numbers and for entrepreneurial ventures. I love creating things. I love people that are creating things. I believe that's the future, and the returns are much larger if you have a disciplined approach.
I mean, let's say you had three founders, very similar model, pretty similar startups. What you can only invest in one. Which are the critical points that trigger your decision to invest? Because in the end of the day, founders, yes, can be similar, but there is something different. The chemistry, you will feel something different. What works for you?
I'd like to know if I was facing three of the same situations, I would get into personality and personal life. People with a lot of complications in their personal life don't have as much time to dedicate to their company. I myself, I've never made a family, don't have children, and my bad habits are very minimal. And so I keep it constant. I'm constantly working. And if I was to choose between one or the other and all the ideas were great, it would come down to their personal life and how many complications they have inside of it.
If there is any, what can be the perfect recipe for a pitch that convinces you?
Definitely the energy, if it was just a pitch and I was listening to it, we go through tons of pitches. Usually they're, you try to, segregate, your time where you do, initial pitches. You're looking for energy in those pitches, people that are excited, about it, by a second round, it may be a longer time. Then I'm looking at their budgeting, how precise they are, how far they've thought out, have they thought out in years in advance? If you come down to a next pitch, it's management style, the team that you've put around you, What do all those people have to do? So it's a progression of pitches in my mind, and it's a variety of things you're looking at throughout that whole entire process to get to that point of deploying money.
Thank you. I mean, what's your suggestion to funders when approaching investors? How they should approach an investor?
You got to build relationships. If you think it's going to be a wham bam, see you later, that's not going to happen. It does happen. It's very rare. If you want to get out of your friends and family zone, you got to have the right pitch, and you got to keep coming back at them. If it's not right today, it may be right tomorrow as you hit your KPIs. So if you don't keep a CRM or a steady flow of constant outreach to these people, you're never going to build the relationship. And especially, as you said in the beginning, you got to get there in person, make that personal connection with them, break some bread, have some dinner, have a bottle of wine. I don't know, but whatever you can do in order to get that personal touch, it needs to be there because it's very important.
I mean, you invest in pharmaceuticals, IP. How important is for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, IP is definitely a value. IP is not the only thing, because people can burn their whole entire cash stack, continuously on pursuit of a dream. But if that dream comes with a revenue line and a profitability line a little earlier, then it makes a lot more sense than just investing in pure IP. Pharmaceuticals, you could go 7 to 10 years and still fail. There's a huge burnout rate in the biotech industry. You don't want to be on that side. You want to be on that side that can produce some revenue and develop the IP at the same time. So that's the way we would look at it.
I mean, outside your sector, pharmaceuticals, what can be the most promising sectors for funders to be focused on and launching a venture?
Well, for sure, in the pharmaceutical industry, there's been loads of cash and more loads of cash that are coming from governments worldwide. All that printing you see has been going to pharmaceutical industry. So there's tremendous opportunities. Biotech and pharma is very cyclical as far as development stages go. You're in an upswing, and it looks like a continuous upswing because that money has to rotate. New things have to be funded. Mergers have to occur. So you're in the upswing of a hot cyclical sector, just the magnitude of money that's floating around there now.
Michael, thank you so much for coming to the Investor Talk. It's been a very great pleasure for me.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.